My girlfriend told me I was her little computer nerd, a temporary ego boost until she found someone on her level. She flew to Miami on a Crypto Bros private jet and partied on his yacht without telling me. She thought I'd just take it, that I'd worship her no matter what. She was wrong. She needed me for her ego, so I decided to take away her supply and her entire life along with it. My ex-girlfriend, Ashley, saw our relationship as a form of community service. It was a charity case she had taken on, and she made sure I was constantly aware of my status as her pet project. Every time we stepped out together, whether it was a crowded bar in Jersey City or a quiet dinner in Montclair, she would find subtle, and often not so subtle, ways to remind me that I had somehow won a lottery I didn't even buy a ticket for. "You'll never find another girl like me," she'd whisper, not as a term of endearment, but as a thinly veiled threat, a reminder of my place in the food chain. It began with the little things, the insidious social games she played at my expense. When we'd go to bars, she'd introduce me to new people as just a friend, creating an open lane for any guy who wanted to take a shot. She reveled in the attention, letting them buy her drinks, laughing at their jokes, only to casually mention her boyfriend later in the conversation. "You should see their faces when I point over to you," she'd laugh on the car ride home, the cruelty glittering in her eyes. The look of pure shock is absolutely hilarious. It was a performance, and I was the punchline. I was the prop that made the joke land. The ultimate humiliation, the event that finally cracked the rose-colored glasses I had been so stubbornly wearing, happened on a Saturday. She vanished. No text, no call, just an empty space in my bed when I woke up in a silence that felt heavy and ominous. My calls went straight to voicemail. My texts were left unread. Panic began to coil in my stomach, a familiar feeling of anxiety she so often triggered. Then, around noon, her Instagram story updated, and there she was, Ashley, on a sprawling yacht, the Miami skyline a perfect, sun-drenched backdrop. She was wearing a bikini that was little more than a collection of strings, perched on the lap of some slick, tan guy I'd never seen before as he popped a bottle of champagne, spraying it over a crowd of cheering people. The story continued, a highlight reel of my personal hell. Videos of her grinding on a series of wealthy-looking men, their hands roaming freely over her body. A clip of them doing body shots off her stomach, the crowd roaring with approval. Her caption was simple, a knife twisted in my gut. "Best day ever." The location tag confirmed it, Miami Beach. We lived in New Jersey. She returned on Sunday night, stumbling through my apartment door looking sunburnt, hungover, and completely unbothered. I was a storm of fury and betrayal. "Where the hell were you?" I demanded, my voice shaking. She rolled her eyes, the dismissal so practiced, so effortless. "Tom invited me to his yacht party. It was a last-minute thing, a networking opportunity." Tom, the crypto millionaire who had been sliding into her DMs for months, the one she swore was just a friend. "You flew to Miami without telling me?" I asked, the words feeling absurd as they left my mouth. She laughed, an actual, genuine laugh, as if I had just said the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard. "It was spontaneous, babe. You can't plan these kinds of opportunities." I pulled out my phone and showed her the videos, the damning evidence of her networking. She shrugged, not a flicker of remorse in her eyes. "It's a boat thing. Everyone was dancing. Don't be so uptight. You're in a relationship," I yelled, the words finally exploding out of me. "Yeah, and I came back, didn't I?" she retorted, as if her return was a gift I should be grateful for. She reached out and ruffled my hair, a condescending gesture she knew I hated, the kind you'd use on a child or a dog. I could have stayed in Miami, you know. Tom has this insane condo overlooking the ocean. He wanted to fly me to Ibiza next week. She pinched my cheek, her touch feeling like a brand. But I came back to Jersey, back to my little computer nerd, my anxious, overthinking little nerd who's mad about a harmless boat party. She kicked off her $1,000 heels and collapsed onto my bed, a queen returning to her castle, exhausted from a day of being worshipped by her subjects. I stood there, watching her, and realized that my love for her had become a cage of my own making. But it was the anniversary incident, the moment I heard the unvarnished truth from her own lips, that finally handed me the key. I had planned our one-year anniversary with meticulous care. I wanted to prove to her, and maybe to myself, that I could give her the kind of night she deserved. I had a bouquet of her favorite peonies in my hand, a bottle of expensive champagne chilling in my car, and a reservation at her favorite upscale restaurant. I walked up to her apartment door, my heart pounding with a nervous excitement, ready to surprise her. But as I raised my hand to knock, I heard voices drifting through her open window. It was Ashley and her friends, the pack of Instagram model clones who treated me with a barely concealed disdain whenever they were around. Ash, I still don't get it. One of them, Jenna, was saying, why are you even with him? You could have literally anyone you want. I froze, my hand hovering in midair. I stepped closer to the window, hiding in the shadows of the bushes, clutching the roses like a fool. Ashley's laugh, light and cruel, floated out into the night. You guys want to know the secret? She said, her voice dripping with a smug confidence. He will never, ever leave me. I could do anything, and he would take it. I have complete and total freedom. I could hear the clinking of wine glasses. I fly to Miami to party with Tom. He waits by the phone. I hang out with my exes. He deals with it. Brad takes me to dinner. He just asks if I had a good time. But this one, she let out another peal of laughter. He worships me. Like, he actually thinks I'm a goddess. But don't you want someone better? Another friend asked. Eventually, yeah, Ashley admitted without a second of hesitation. But you know how Brad destroyed my confidence when he cheated on me with that bartender? This one, he looks at me like I'm a gift from God. He tells me I'm perfect every single morning. He literally begs me not to leave him. I need that right now. The giggling that followed was like a physical blow. Once I feel like myself again, I'll find someone who's actually on my level. But for now, he's exactly what my ego needs. He's like therapy, but it's free. The whole group erupted in laughter. I stood there, the thorns of the rose stems digging into my palm. And in that moment, the love I thought I had for her curdled into something cold and hard and sharp. She needed me for her ego. It was time to cut off her supply. I spent the next 2 weeks in a cold, methodical trance. The plan was simple. I was going to dismantle the carefully constructed facade of her life, using the very tools she worshipped, social media and public perception. Thursday night, I sat at my computer, not as her loving boyfriend, but as an architect of her demise. I created a new Instagram account, NJ_gossip_watch. The profile picture was a generic, stock photo of a Newark skyline. I spent 3 hours meticulously building its credibility. I followed all of Ashley's friends, the bar she frequented, Tom's entire entourage of crypto brothers, and every local influencer in North Jersey. I found a dozen generic photos of Newark nightlife online, backdated them, and wrote vapid captions to make the account look like it had been active for weeks. By the time I was done, it was a perfect anonymous weapon waiting to be loaded. Friday night was our anniversary dinner, a week late. She had forgotten the actual date. She texted to say she'd be late to Fornos of Spain, our reservation spot. I sat there for 40 minutes, sipping water, enduring the pitying looks from the waiter who kept asking if my date was still coming. She finally swept in, a vision in a tight red dress I'd never seen before, and immediately started scrolling through her phone, barely acknowledging my presence. She kept angling her screen towards me, showing off DMs from random men, calling her a goddess, a queen, perfection. She was showcasing her market value, reminding me of what a privilege it was to be in her presence. Between the appetizer and the main course, she casually mentioned that Tom wanted to fly her to Art Basel in Miami next month. You don't mind, do you? She asked. Not as a question, but as a statement. It's just for networking. I smiled a cold, empty smile. That sounds amazing, I said. You deserve opportunities like that. She reached across the table and patted my hand, the same condescending gesture as before, a reward for my good behavior. After dinner, she insisted on going to the Brass Monkey for drinks. My friend Rachel was working the bar and shot me a look of concern as we walked in. Ashley immediately abandoned me, making a beeline for a group of men in suits by the pool table. I heard her introduce me as her friend from work. One of the finance bros, already drunk and belligerent, asked her loud enough for half the bar to hear, "Why are you with a guy like that when you could have anyone?" Ashley laughed her sweet, poisonous laugh. "Oh, he's like a puppy," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "Loyal, harmless, and always so happy to see me." The whole group roared with laughter while I stood there, holding her purse like a servant. The next morning, I woke up alone. A quick check of Instagram confirmed she had spent the night elsewhere and was already at a boozy brunch in Montclair with Jenna and Tom. The caption on her photo read, "Surround yourself with people who match your energy sparkles." My phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend Marcus. Phase 1 is locked and loaded whenever you're ready. I opened my laptop and logged into the NJ_gossip_watch account. Rachel had sent me the perfect photo the night before. A crystal clear shot of Ashley kissing Tom at the bar, taken last week. I posted it. The caption was simple and devastating. Local influencer getting cozy with a crypto millionaire. Hope her boyfriend doesn't see this. I tagged the bar. I tagged Tom. I let the anonymous monster I had created off its leash. Within an hour, the post was a dumpster fire. 40 comments. Dozens of shares. People were already tagging Ashley, tagging me. Her follower count began to fluctuate wildly as people connected the dots. She hadn't seen it yet. She considered accounts without a blue check beneath her notice. Around noon, Jenna must have shown her the post because my phone began to ring, a frantic, incessant buzzing. It was Ashley screaming about a stalker, about someone trying to ruin her life with lies. I played the part of the concerned, supportive boyfriend. I told her I'd report the account, that she shouldn't worry about stupid online gossip. That night, she showed up at my apartment in tears, a sight I had never witnessed before. They weren't tears of sadness or remorse. They were tears of pure, narcissistic rage. If my brand partners see this, they'll drop me, she cried. My reputation will be ruined. I held her as she sobbed, and as she lamented the potential damage to her brand deals, I quietly took screenshots of our text exchange. Evidence. It was all about the evidence. 2 days later, it was time for round two. I logged back into the gossip account. Rachel had been a treasure trove of evidence. I found the perfect photo. Ashley leaving the brass monkey with one of the finance bros from a few weeks ago, her hand on his chest, both of them laughing hysterically. The timestamp was 2 a.m. on a night she had told me she was home with a migraine. The caption, "Looks like our girl has a different flavor for every night of the week." The fallout was immediate. Ashley, in a panic, started flooding her own feed with old photos of us, desperate attempts to project an image of a happy, stable relationship. The captions were saccharine and desperate, talking about true love and ignoring the haters. The comments section became a war zone. People were calling her a fake, tagging me, tagging Tom, demanding answers. Someone even created a side-by-side collage of her lovey-dovey posts next to the gossip account's photos, pointing out that the timelines didn't add up. Monday morning, her brother, Derek, called me. He asked what was going on, and I fed him the same story. A stalker was harassing Ashley with lies, and I was just trying to protect her. He was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "My sister has always been careless with people's feelings," he said. "Maybe this is karma." On Wednesday, I posted another photo. Ashley at a rooftop bar, Brad's arm wrapped possessively around her. 2 weeks ago, on a night she was supposedly at her mother's house. On Thursday, I sent anonymous tips from a burner email account to both Tom and Brad. The message was simple. Ashley's pathetic, controlling boyfriend had finally left her. She would be at the Brass Monkey that night, alone and vulnerable, looking for comfort. The explosion I had been so carefully engineering was set to detonate. Friday morning, she ambushed me at my office. I was walking through the lobby when I heard her screaming my name. She pushed past security and ran at me, her face a grotesque mask of rage. "I know it's you," she shrieked, her voice echoing off the marble floors. "You're trying to ruin my life because you're a pathetic, jealous loser." She grabbed the front of my shirt, shaking me as my coworkers and the entire lobby stared in stunned silence. Security guards had to pull her off me as she continued to scream threats and insults, a wild, cornered animal. My boss called me into his office 20 minutes later and asked if everything was okay at home. I gave him the short, sanitized version. He said he understood breakups were hard, but that I couldn't let that kind of drama spill into the workplace. I spent the next 3 days ignoring her calls and texts, which cycled through a predictable pattern of venomous rage and pathetic, desperate apologies. Her Instagram was a different story, a nonstop party, a curated performance of how much fun she was having without me. My friend Rachel kept me updated. Ashley was at the Brass Monkey every single night, getting blackout drunk and telling anyone who would listen that I was a jealous monster trying to destroy her success. On Thursday, I knew she would be there. I had laid the trap, and now it was time to watch her walk into it. The first video surfaced online around 11 p.m., a grainy cell phone clip of Tom walking into the bar. 5 minutes later, another clip, Brad arriving. Someone started a live stream. You could see Tom approach Ashley at the bar, just as Brad came up from the other side. Their voices were audible over the music. Tom was calling her a professional gold digger, accusing her of playing him for months. Brad jumped in, revealing that she had been sending him nudes while I was at work, telling him she was only with me for stability. The crowd formed a circle, a modern-day coliseum. Ashley tried to deny everything, but they both had their phones out, showing messages comparing dates and times. The evidence was irrefutable. She was caught. The argument escalated. Brad threw a drink in her face. She tried to slap Tom. Security intervened. By midnight, the videos were everywhere. Her follower count was in a freefall. Brands began to quietly untag her from their sponsored posts. She called me at 3 a.m., sobbing hysterically, begging me to make it stop. I let go to voicemail. Over the weekend, the chaos intensified. Her parents, who'd been bankrolling her entire influencer lifestyle, cut her off. Derrera came to my apartment, looking exhausted and ashamed. He told me Ashley had been like this since high school, a tornado of manipulation that their family had always made excuses for. But this time she had gone too far. That night, she showed up at my apartment, drunk and screaming, pounding on my door until my neighbors called the police. When they arrived, she tried to tell them I was the stalker, but she was so intoxicated she could barely stand. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. The next morning, an officer came back with the paperwork for a restraining order. On Monday, my boss told me Ashley had called HR, claiming I was harassing her. I showed him the police report and the video my neighbor had sent me of her drunken rampage. He just nodded and said HR would handle it. On Tuesday, the eng_gossip_watch account posted its final story, the rise and fall of a Newark influencer. It was a comprehensive takedown, complete with the bar fight videos and screenshots of her calling me her puppy. That's when Ashley made her final, fatal mistake. She posted private, intimate photos of me to her Instagram, photos I didn't even know she had, with captions calling me abusive and controlling. Rachel saw them, screenshotted everything before Ashley deleted them an hour later, and told me to call a lawyer. 2 days later, I was at the police station. The detective looked at the evidence of the revenge porn and shook his head. Charges would be filed. The same day, the SEC raided Tom's office. He was being investigated for wire fraud. Ashley's name was all over their documents. She wasn't a co-conspirator, but she was an accessory to the lifestyle, funded by stolen money. The restraining order was granted. Ashley violated it within 23 hours by emailing me from a fake account. She was arrested. Her mugshot was plastered all over the local crime blogs. The hearing for the restraining order violation was a joke. She showed up in a designer dress, but the judge wasn't impressed. When the prosecutor presented evidence of her trying to bribe ex-boyfriends to lie and say I had threatened them, a plot Rachel had uncovered with security footage, the judge revoked her bail on the spot. She was let out of the courtroom in handcuffs, screaming that I had destroyed an innocent woman. Months later, at her sentencing, she pleaded guilty to everything. She looked small and broken in her orange jumpsuit. 6 months in jail, 2 years of probation, mandatory therapy, and a complete ban from all social media. Her parents sold their house and moved to Pennsylvania to escape the shame. Her dad sent me a check for $10,000 with a note asking me to let them all move on. I tore it up. It was never about the money. A year after it all began, I saw her. I was driving to a conference and stopped at a rest stop on the turnpike. She was pumping gas into a beat-up old Honda Civic, wearing baggy sweatpants, her hair in a messy bun. She looked normal. Shoo. Our eyes met for a brief second. There was no anger, no hatred, just a flicker of recognition, a shared history of mutual destruction. She looked away, her shoulders hunched as if she wanted to disappear. I just walked into the Starbucks, got my coffee, and drove away. In the end, we both got what we wanted, just not in the way we expected. She had wanted to break me, and in a way, she had. But she had also forced me to become someone stronger, someone who wouldn't be a doormat. And I had wanted to destroy her ego, but in doing so, I had inadvertently set her on a path to something, maybe hopefully real. The last I heard, she was in intensive therapy, working a data entry job, and living a quiet, boring life in Pennsylvania. She sent me a real apology, once, a long, handwritten letter admitting she had used me as an emotional punching bag to deal with her own insecurities. I wrote back and told her that I had planned her downfall and enjoyed every second of it, but that maybe, going forward, we could both be better people. The chapter was finally truly closed.